And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
So we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Yes, you're stuck with us forever.
It remains to be true.
Anyway, today is our 66th episode.
Well, then we'd better execute Order 66.
Oh no.
Hey, remember that time we played Star Wars Risk?
That was the dumbest game ever.
I thought it was really well balanced.
I mean, who designs a game where one player can just wait until the very end and then take over half the other player's units? I don't really care if it was film accurate. I didn't like it.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Anyway, as always, we are here to answer development and design questions about idle champions.
But if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of having to play Star Wars Risk with me.
Come on, I thought we already talked about that nightmare in the first segment.
Oh, I just really wanted to rub it in. Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we did not get to, and we will answer some of those while waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, we've got some updates on items that we flagged to get looked at by the dev team. I think Justin also has an update to give after that. And once we get through those, we'll start with the questions. So let's hop over to that. Okay, so I have a short list today of features that were, or fixes and new features that made it out last week after, of course, last week's episode. So we did actually get the buff bar ordering locked, as was suggested by Garwar on the last stream. So that is now in the order of potions, Modron, weekend, weekday, wait, what do we call those? Events, seasons, and then others. So those will remain in that order. And if any of those are missing, they'll just be in the order with those removed from them. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, those are locked. The order on those is now locked. We did also increase the number of digits that were shown before going to scientific notation on some of the challenges. I know that was a hot request. And I did speak to Mark about getting the skip offline functionality to remain in the case after you say that you wish to continue, but then it still takes a long time. I don't know that got in, but I know he has got it on his list now. We do still have our reasonably length list of in-progress items, of course. That remains adding an icon to the portraits of champions that are blocked due to variant rules that can be unblocked if you use a feat. Skipping the animation for moving the chest code, or for the chest code opening chest before being able to put in a code. So that makes that a little quicker process to go through. Adding a tooltip to gear with a max level so that we indicate what progress is towards that max level. Quick return to Area 1 for mobile. Additional icons on the quest tracker for the different types of season quests. That's once again something that's coming up. Recall for familiar. Indicator for how many unread changelogs there are. And saving feats with formations.
Cool. I guess the next thing on the list here is for me to do a little teaser. So yeah, I think last week we asked, somebody asked about updates for feats, and I said to ask again on the 12th.
You did.
And the very first question here I see was from Randram, who was asking about how about them feat updates. So here, I will answer that right now.
No, wait,
so yes.
before you do that, Justin, how many feats did they want?
They wanted one extra feat slot, I think.
I think so, yeah.
I think that's what they were asking for, if I recall correctly. So yeah, the big update that is coming next week as part of our sort of January round of quality of life updates is for feats, and it is not one new feat slot, because that's lame. Who would give you one new feat slot? We are going to be adding 2 new feat slots to all champions that you can unlock by leveling those champions up, similar to how you unlock the current feat slots. The first one will kind of be in between the 2 existing feat slots. So if you've already got the second one unlocked, you'll easily be able to unlock the third. And then the second new feat slot requires a higher level. So more favor, more gold to get up to the level required to unlock that feat slot. So yeah, 2 new feat slots, 100% more feats in each champion, 2 times as many feats in every champion, if you want to say it a different way. But yeah, up to 4 feat slots for every champion. So hopefully that'll help people make use of all of these feats that you have for champions and not have to pick and choose quite so much. And hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to have maybe some of the stat boost ones, so you can access certain patrons at the same time as having some of the power ones that will make you a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, so, and as pointed out in the chat, we had to add 2 because only one you would be off balance and you would not be able to walk in other than a circle. So,
except for those races where you have the 2 people and you tie their middle feet together and they have to run with like three legs. It's kind of
yeah, but aren't both of those they're wearing 2?
I mean, they technically have 2 feet, but I guess you could get one big shoe that kind of fits around both feet. And then
this just really sounds like we're going to the circus.
We're not giving you new shoe slots. We're giving you new feet slots. So yeah, okay. Yeah. It always has to be 2.
Okay. it's just how it is. We don't make up the rules.
Okay. Why don't we go on to some leftover questions from last week's episode?
Sure. Okay. The first question from last week is from Randram, asking, is it early 2022, in quotes, for Patron 5 timeline yet?
Yeah, so this is, I guess the question here is, I think we've talked about adding a 5th patron, and we've been talking about that internally as well as when would make sense to add that. We were thinking it might be kind of early 2022. We are now reconsidering whether or not that makes sense. And so that's something that we're looking at, whether or not we still want to stick with a early 2022 timeline, or if we want to move it a little bit later in the year, or do something different before we roll out an additional patron.
Sorry, are you saying that on purpose?
What?
Early 2022. I think we've reconsidered it being early 2022.
I don't know what year it is. Let me just update this. Is it not still 2022?
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay, last time I got good sleep, it was still 2022. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still 2022.
Okay. All right. So the long and the short of that is there may or may not be a patron 5 slot early 2020. No, I'm doing it. 2023.
There will definitely not be one in early 2022. Now that I've thought about that.
When
yes.
might we see another patron time or a patron, Justin?
In 2023. Probably not early 2023. It'd be mid 2023 at the earliest. But as I said, we're discussing internally what that means, what that would mean for the game. Obviously, I mean, 4 patrons is a lot of patrons. There's a lot of, we were talking about the patron challenges that you have to do weekly, or you have available to do weekly, I should say. And some of the discussions that we had internally were around, is 4 actually fine? Do we need to add an additional one? Is there a need in the game for that? Have people finished all of the existing patron variants? Or is there still more content there? And sort of what percentage of our players sort of have completed all that stuff? So that's all stuff we're looking at and a little bit up in the air. Right.
Well, not all of the cylinders may be firing today, but at least the audio is working. So...
yeah,
it's good.
Is it not 2022? What happened to 2022?
All right. Following up on that, this next question makes perfect sense. This one here is from Lord Javax, asking, what are you most excited about for the game in 2023? You're editing the question on me.
What are we most excited about in the game in 2023? I think...
And can announce, obviously. It can't be...
And can announce.
Yeah.
I don't know, but stuff that we can announce is there's some exciting stuff that's on the design side that we're looking at that I don't think we're quite ready to announce yet because we haven't finished designing it. But if we manage to get that out this year, that would be really exciting for me personally, because that's a feature that myself and the other designer here have been working on for like more than a year. So it'd be really nice to get that thing out, which of course I can't actually say what it is, except that I'm excited about it. So yeah, there's some fun stuff that we're working on. I'm not sure that we'll get it all the way through the development pipeline in 2023, but hopefully.
Yeah,
MOS if it's the new collection screen.
that
I
would
mean,
be
it's
nice to
not
have
that,
too.
but that would
Yeah.
be a very nice thing to have. And actually, it was funny. We've had some discussions in the last few weeks that that actually lend some credence to the fact that we might actually get around to starting to look at something like that this year.
Yeah, we definitely got some ideas for that one. Yep.
Yeah.
And
What
not
about you,
just the
Dave?
ideas that have been discussed prior.
No, different ideas, different, cooler ideas,
Oh, I
not
think kind of
different ideas. I like to
definitely
hype up things.
yeah,
Hype, hype, so
same
cool.
boat. We have so many things that we'd like to do this year that are not solid enough that we're ready to announce them to the world. So
I still think it's 2022. So, I mean, I'm obviously not prepared for 2023.
okay, well, let's move on from that for now. Next question here is from Ace FHJ1. I'm not sure how that was supposed to be pronounced, so we're going to go with that. The question is, with the season focus on featured foes, can we please get notes on the adventures saying which enemies are present in said adventure?
Yeah, this is something that I guess we didn't get around to before we released the season. It's something that was definitely on the list of like a nice to have that would have been good to get in. We were also hoping to, and I'm not sure if this made it, but I know we were hoping to for some of the like favored foe choices, like on Minx and Imoen and Jahira, I guess as well, to have like a percentage, like when you choose a specialization to have like this is the percentage of this enemy that's in, or the percentage of areas in this adventure that have this enemy. And I don't think we got that in. So I think both this and that would be really great things to get into the game. But we did not, I guess, get those in before the season launched. I was off on paternity leave when the season was launching, so I wasn't quite on top of that. But I am going to highlight that, and then Dave is going to talk to Peter about that, and we'll see if we can get that slotted onto the to-do list, because I think we have room on there. Let's see. Next question. This one's for you, Dave. I highlighted it for you because I know how much you love your new potion manager. So this is a question from Evil Emperor Zerg, who says, I do like the new potion manager. Well organized and easy UI. But I'm not seeing champion damage bonuses tracked from the weekly/weekend chest purchases or power boosts from purchased champion chests. We used to have an icon for this, and now we don't. Has this been noted and is in the pipeline to fix?
That's a good question. I wasn't aware that we'd taken those icons off, but we can definitely, I can definitely get that checked and make sure we didn't inadvertently take that off. I know Alex, who put the potion manager together and was cleaning up the bar there, was making a number of changes to that, and so it is possible that that got overlooked and isn't there anymore. So I will check in with him and see what happened there and make sure that those are still there. Okay. Highlight that. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. Oh, the next question here is also for you. It's from Can Loq, who said, would it be possible to make it so we can move familiars around while story dialogue is being played? I start moving them around, and then chat starts and prohibits the movement.
Yeah, it's a good question.
When you're changing areas.
Yeah, I mean, as it's currently set up, there's sort of an invisible blocking layer that comes up behind the chat, the cinematic dialogue there that prevents you from interacting with basically anything. And so I'm not sure that we could enable you to move the familiars around without basically allowing you to touch basically everything that's under there. And I'm not, like, off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly. I know we had it, we did it that way, just so that things don't get inadvertently interrupted. But yeah, I think we'd have to think about if there was any sort of like mechanical reason why you wouldn't be able to do anything while that was up. Certainly we wouldn't want to be able to sort of change areas mid dialogue. That wouldn't be very good. Yeah, I mean, I think it might be something that we could make an adjustment to, but it would be definitely something that would be lower down the priority list, because I think it'd be a little bit fiddly to make it so you could just move the familiars but couldn't interact with some of the other UI.
Yeah, I think obviously in like if you've got the dialogue on like click to continue, that wouldn't work. I think if it was auto playing, maybe it would be okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, certainly we're receiving the clicks to continue. You could have to click on the dialogue at that point. Yeah. Anyway, something to think about. Let's get into new questions from today. The first question we have highlighted here is from question : asking, is there any news on the missing node on the strong core?
Nope, there's no new news on that.
Did you just decide that wasn't something you were going to adjust? You're just going to leave it as is? Is this
You stopped asking me about it every week, and so I kind of forgot about it.
Oh, no. That's just asking for it, Justin.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah.
Okay.
Someday. I'm secretly just really annoyed at whoever put in that data and didn't follow.
You'd fix it and it would go away. All right. Next question. This question is from Somerville. The question is Fen meant to count double or 4 times rewards? If not, do you think about leaving it in there? It's a super nice addition to the champion.
So I went and looked at the design doc, and it looks like Fen is by default supposed to count double rewards, so 100% increase on progress for patron challenges. And I know there's some other questions here about for seasons and whether she's supposed to count for season quests. It is actually a bug that she is counting season quest, that she is doubling season progress. It is supposed to only be patron challenge progress. And so this is something that we are going to have to look into, because the ability to increase season progress is slated for a different champion. So it wouldn't be fair to that other champion to then have that ability. So yeah. So I'm not sure how that slipped through. It is very clear here in the design that it's for patron challenge progress. I guess I can see how it slipped through, because both patron challenges and season quests do use the same kind of base system for tracking their progress. So that is probably how it made it through. But yes, there's intended to be another champion coming down the road that does the season progress stuff in that way.
Okay. Next question. This is from Nunown, asking, are we going to get some free new skins for the season champions, like we did during the Aroas season?
I don't actually know the answer to this. Do you know the answer to this?
I do not.
I don't know what marketing's plan is for that kind of stuff. I feel like there might be like a code or two out there somewhere that has some stuff in them, but I'm not sure if those codes are releasing early in the season or later in the season. But I honestly do not know what the plan is for free stuff. I know that there is some new DLC planned for some of the Baldur's Gate champions down the road, but I am honestly not sure about like codes and releases and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either. I know there are more skins in the works. That's all I know.
Yes.
Okay, next one here is from OG17, asking, if you only run favored foe areas, is season milestone might reach level 5? So I'm trying to parse this. Its season milestone might reach level 5 after most others are completed, and the new Nearest Spiritual Weapon seasonal is slow going even if you drop everything to focus on it. Are quests intended to have orders of magnitude outliers?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think I might have touched on this in the last episode, but our hope for milestones is that we would get them balanced such that they would complete it at roughly similar rates, though obviously not exactly the similar rate, because we don't want, it's kind of boring to have everything kind of tick up to level 2 at the same time and tick up to level 3 at the same time, especially if you're not focused on one or the other. But definitely, I think if there are ones that are super far out of range, like completing level 10 on some while still being at level 5 on the other, or still being even lower than that on others, and they're not ones that you should really be focused on, then yeah, there's potentially some issues there. I mean, the favored foe ones, we do intend for people to kind of be constantly running favored foes, and there's also, there's many ways to get extra favored foes with Minx and Imoen and Viconia throughout the season. So our intention was that players would kind of have to throw everything at the wall to really get the favored foe kills that they need. The nearest spiritual weapon one, that might have just been a bit of a misbalance on our part in terms of getting those numbers right. So yeah, the intention is that everything's obviously doable before the season ends. I think we're still in that state where everything's doable before the season ends. We're not that far into the season. There's still more than half of it left to go. But certainly, I think it. Honestly, I think what might have happened this season is we had a couple that were balanced to be a little bit too easy, more so than we had some that were balanced to be too hard. So I think that's probably what we'll look at for season 3 and see if there's some adjustments we can make there to some of those targets.
All right. I liked this question. We've got an answer for it, Justin. This is from Irene UK. Was it a dark joke to make all patrons have a reach coin cap, the most tedious, the week you announced no more tedious patron chores, quote unquote?
So yeah, if it was a dark joke, then it's a joke of the random number generator, because we don't actually set the quests. Those are, or the challenges. Those are all they're randomly picked, and I think there's a bunch of buckets, and so it's just random chance that it happened to pick that particular bucket for one of the, I believe there are 10 patron challenges each week. I think there are 14 or 15 buckets, so it's a kind of a 2/3 chance to have that each week, and I guess we got that one. But should be pretty quick, straightforward, especially with the or no, I guess Fen doesn't help with that, but especially sort of just grinding through the new challenges, it should be pretty straightforward. Let's see, next question here is from OG17, who asks or says, the potion manager is good, but could it have an old style mouse over to check the status without opening it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm having gone back and forth from the initial layout where we did have sort of the mouse over with all of the details for them, to going to something where maybe it was just the icons, to going to the potion manager. It's definitely something that we're going to keep looking at to see if we can make sure that we're getting the information across in a way that is enough, that's meaningful. One of the ideas actually that I played around with a little bit was actually putting colored and ordered dot indicators actually on the icon to kind of show. Now, the results of that were quite... I would say if you didn't know what you were looking at, it was going to be hard to read, and I had wondered if maybe that would make sense as something to do with sort of an advanced feature that you could turn on so that you could get an at a glance. But it's a little bit tricky to sort of have sort of the multiple views on it, so I don't think it's something that we would add to that unless we were getting a lot of requests for it. I still do like the idea of more of an advanced view that has little, for albeit small, indicators on there so you can see that you've got everything, or to indicate which ones are active. But yeah, it's something that's going to need more thought as we continue to make improvements to the potion manager. And I know we do have a few items already tagged on to make improvements there. So we're going to keep paying attention to it. Okay, next question. This one is also from Irene UK. This question is there any chance that Fen could help in some way with reach the weekly coin cap?
Yeah, so this is something that I was kind of talking about in my last answer. It's kind of, so one of the things we tried to do with the patron challenge rework is to make everything, or all of the challenges, or as many of the challenges as we could, things that Fen could help with. So that's why, for example, there used to be challenges that was like complete a certain number of free plays, patron free plays in area like 100 or higher or something like that. And that was one that Fen couldn't help with because she can't, like, when you finish an adventure, she's not in your formation anymore. She can't double the number that you get credited for, etc. So we changed that to complete a certain number of areas in free plays, and so that way Fen can, every area you complete, Fen can count 2 or 4 or whatever, and you can get through that a little bit faster. The only ones we couldn't really do were the ones where it's earn a certain number of coins or patron currencies, or reach the weekly currency cap, because we didn't want to basically have Fen double or triple or quadruple or whatever your currency from completing free plays, because that did not feel quite in line with the way that she worked with the other increases. So there are a couple of challenges there that Fen doesn't help with, and so we're kind of okay with that. It would have been nice if we could have her help with all of them, but unfortunately, there's just a couple that she wasn't able to get the ability to help with. Looks like we're going back up a couple of questions here. A question here from Connellan about the Potion Manager. Love that Potion Manager. The question is, how do you open the Potion Manager window on console?
Yeah, so I just confirmed with Alex before answering this, because I know it was the rework for the layout where the Potion Manager spawned from was the PC buff display, and the console has a completely sort of different way in which you activate and display the potion buffs. And so we actually didn't integrate a way to open the Potion Manager on console yet. But that's definitely an oversight, and we'll have to go in and get that fixed so that you can actually bring up the Potion Manager on console, because it's definitely a really useful feature. But it did not end up integrated into the console UI, and as you probably know, we got that in just before we went away on holidays, and so it hasn't been looked at since. So we'll put that on the list, making sure that that is something that is accessible console side as well. Mm-hmm. All right, next question from Slap Happy Slappy. Okay. Mm-hmm. My favor is gradually creeping up, and I can get to Z plus or Z1000 plus on free plays. Any chance / update on the max Modron automation zone cap on PlayStation increasing from 999?
Yeah, we should definitely. I think is the cap on PC, like the non-console UI, is it different? Is it? I thought it was 1500.
So we know we increased it. I think it is 1500. I don't know if they're actually loaded from 2 different places. It is possible that UI has 2 different inputs, which is not ideal, but it's possible if that was the case, it was missed. But we can check with Peter and confirm. The other possibility is it was just on a delayed rollout, but I would feel by this point anything.
I think it's been a long time since we updated that, so I think that's just an oversight, and we'll try and get that updated to $14.99 on console or the gamepad UI.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was in 2 places.
Yeah. It says that the consoles couldn't use 4 digits, so maybe there's some small UI changes we need to make there as well.
Yeah, I know that when we were putting those in initially, that was something that we didn't before we had. It was before we had sort of a unified way to do input boxes for the different types of consoles, and so I know that when that was being implemented, the developer who was working on it had done a different version for Switch, for PlayStation, and for Xbox, and then so there was a bunch of different places how that was working. And I know after speaking to him about that, we unified it down into one. But I know there were various places where that was being used, and I don't know that they all got updated. So sounds like an oversight. We'll get that one fixed.
Cool. Let's see. Next question is from EB Zombie. And they ask, could we get some sort of filtering for the event achievements? It's grown so much, it's really hard to find champion-specific achievements, or to find the champion-specific achievements I'm missing without slowly scrolling down the list and hoping I see it.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that. off the top of my head, I can't say what that list currently looks like, but if it's getting longer, we can certainly put some kind of filtering on it.
It's
certainly
very long.
It's at the point where you're not finding it. Yeah.
I feel like that's a good opportunity to work something like that into the new collections dialogue, where you can kind of go by champion and see not just their equipment and their abilities and whatnot, but also their achievements and all their feats and all their legendary, stuff like that. That sounds like a good place for that.
Yeah,
and it's a bigger issue, obviously, if you haven't been playing since the game came out, because then there's going to be far more of those that you don't have, and so finding the ones that you're looking for is going to be quite challenging.
Did you want to speak anything to question 16 here, Justin?
I'm happy to see if you have anything to say about that.
Sort of a question we don't get very frequently here, but there's a question here from Rodwood. Oh, how would you say that, Justin?
It almost it almost looks like a name you're supposed to like pronounce backwards, but then it doesn't do that either. So Rodru.
Well, all right. Well,
Rodru. I would just not pronounce the H.
Fair enough.
Rodru.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're asking, you guys need any volunteer developers for the team?
Yeah, and that's sort of I guess it's a question that I'm actually surprised we haven't had sooner. I don't think we've had this question before, but it is certainly one of those things that's tricky because. Even if we could use sort of volunteer development or have certain things put out in a way that was, allowed people to work on sort of open source portions of it, we're really in a situation where we just can't sort of allow access into the systems that would need to be allowed in for someone to actually work sort of on a volunteer basis, aside from sort of all the other sort of complications that goes with that. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that would be really, really tricky to make work. Even though I know it certainly would be, especially from an aspiring developer, probably a really good work experience to be able to work on a project like this with more experienced developers. But unfortunately, it's really tricky to make work.
Cool. So I think I am going to announce the giveaway. We don't have Martin here to interrupt the middle of our questions here, so I had to go ask if it was ready to go. But it's 2:30, so that means it's time for our world famous
aluminum chest giveaway.
Aluminum chest giveaway. No, our weekly chest giveaway. The way this works is, if you haven't been here before, is very shortly Moobot will announce that a giveaway is starting. There will be a keyword that you type into chat. You type that into chat, and you are entered in for a chance to win the giveaway. The giveaway is for 42 chests of your choice. Can be any type of chest that is currently in the game. It can't be a type of chest that's not currently in the game. And it cannot be Glory of Bahamut chest, but it can be pretty much any other chest. You could do the Season 2 chests. You could do silver chests. You can do. You could try aluminum chests. I don't know if there are aluminum chests in the game. I don't think there are. You could definitely try those. What's the one that you like, Dave? It's like the Illuminati chest.
The what? Oh man, it's the
clairvoyant admin chest.
Yeah, I think it's the clairvoyant admin chest. You just think what you want, and then you open the chest, and that's what comes out.
Yeah. So anyway, that's started now. Looks like so. The keyword is more feats. Just type that into chat, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. And good luck to everyone. I won't enter it this week, but I do want to win some chests. So maybe I'll just go give myself some chests after the show. Let's see here. Let's move on to the next question.
More feats.
Oh, you tried.
I tried. Spelling is difficult for me sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. This one is from Philistine47. Vornika's Inner Circle ability seems to only pull from champs who are natively eligible for a variant. Would it be feasible for her to also look at champs who would have been unlocked for a variant, as with Nahara unlocking BDS champs in Strad variants?
Yeah, this is a good question. I believe we were fairly intentional about making it only use champions who start out the variant eligible for it. And the reason for that is that we actually pick the inner circle options right when the adventure starts. So we don't know if you're going to get Nahara, unlock Nahara, and then choose the proper specialization to allow the other BDS champions into the Strahd variants. So we just pick from champions that were available when the adventure started, very intentionally. So I don't think we have any plans to change that. I think, if anything, the new challenges we've done that for Strahd that require you to use Nahara and use that specialization in order to pull those champions into Strahd have given us good reason to avoid doing more of that stuff in the future, because we've definitely gotten a lot of tickets about it, and we're taking taking action to try and to make that a little bit more obvious what you need to do. So yes, there is some complications there. And congrats to the winner of the chests, Dark Skis. And let's see, next question. This question is from Orc Princess, who asks, sorry if it has been asked before. It has, but it's fine. Any chance of getting UI scaling higher, at least 200% or more? The way it is now, I can barely read anything in the UI in windowed mode. It is very frustrated to be forced to play in full screen. Thanks. I love this game, and this is my only really big issue. Come on, Dave. Relent.
Yeah.
I'll put in the Modron core if you put in higher scaling for like 4K monitors.
Yeah, I have to assume that that's the issue, that it's on a 4K monitor. Certainly we ran into some issues with the UI scaling early on with the font system, which we have now replaced. So there's certain things that could be looked at, although it is sort of a UI wide thing that would need to be looked at to be able to increase that scaling. So it's something that has been on the list for a long time to add 4K support. I can't say when that is something that's going to be end up being prioritized. There are some options right now that you can use to enlarge that window so it does become readable, particularly if you're on a 4K monitor. There is and on Windows, I guess, is the other caveat. So hopefully this applies to you. You can actually do application scaling. There's a resolution scaling option in the properties. If you right click on the executable and go into the properties. I can't remember off the top of my head where that setting is, but I know it's in there, and you can change the application scaling to 150, 200%, and that will make the whole game larger, so that you can actually, everything will be readable then without going into full screen. But I'm not sure when we'll be able to do a full UI pass to make the UI scaling all work for 4K. Yeah. Okay. And that's probably not the answer we're hoping for. Next question here is from Lamb the True Legendary. Thoughts on race change / add feats for champions with skins that change their race, for example, Pack Antics Lucius, would be neat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this in the past. I think some players were asking if we could have the actual skin itself change the race tags on a champion, and we were very hesitant to do that because we don't want to add any sort of actual in-game effects to skins. We want them to remain sort of purely cosmetic, not counting the blessing that gives you some extra bonus for having more skins. But we have thought about potentially adding some feats that do that anyone could kind of get, so that it doesn't become an advantage to potentially have a skin. I don't remember where we came down on that last time. It obviously wasn't a huge priority because we haven't done it yet. But it's definitely something to think about in the future as we do some more skins, especially any skins that kind of change race. Certainly when we did the Pack Antics skin, we were looking at that and being like, these guys should all be kobolds for the purposes of of the champions that like kobolds, spurt, and other ones. But yeah, so it is something we've considered.
All right. Next question. This one is from SDS Adrian, or yeah, yeah. Sorry, double take there on the name. The question is, will we get an update for Freely so that it is shown how many lawful, neutral, chaotic champs are in the formation?
Uh, Sorry, I was thinking about. I was going to look up the design for Freely just to make sure that this was one that was really obvious, and obviously in need of that. But yeah, we were talking. Pete and I were talking the other day about champions that are missing this kind of bonus. Yes, Mars is saying it's for a specialization choice. I am aware of that. Yeah, I think the reason that we did not do this is it's I'm gonna have to look through this design. The thing that it affects the luck of Yondala is a very huge design note here, and I would have to double check exactly how that affects things. But I think yes, if it's something that that would be helpful, then I think that would be useful to do. If it's something where it's just like the number of champions it affects doesn't necessarily affect things, it's like specific champions it affects. Like for example, Averin putting in sort of the number of champions that his thing could that his spec could potentially effect wouldn't necessarily be as useful because there's a lot of positional stuff to that too. So I'll have to look through this design and just refresh my brain about exactly how it's working. But potentially this could be something we could add in.
All right. So you've just highlighted every question from here till the bottom. Next question here is from Paralu. Will there be a big champions rebalance like last spring?
So this is a good question. We are not planning. I don't think we did a big champion rebalance last spring, but a couple of springs ago we definitely did one. They're saying Averin has this count, but it's not needed on him. Well, that's okay. Well, yes. That was my point. Is Averin doesn't really need one, but apparently he has one anyway. Anyway, as for big champion rebalances, so what our intention is for champion rebalances is that we've moved those out of sort of special events and move them to seasons. So our intention is that each season we'll have several champions that get rebalances. We've done certainly 2 seasons so far and rebalanced 9.5 champions so far. So we will continue to try and do some champion rebalances in each season at the very least, and we will probably not do too many rebalances outside of seasons at this point. We have been discussing some other opportunities to maybe do champion rebalances, but we are not yet sure that we will go with anything outside of seasons at this point. So
okay, next question. This one is from Randramb. I always wonder if I'm pronouncing that name right. Follow-up question. 4 slots, 5 total available feats on Narak. Any chance some champs get a few extras?
Yes. So this is another thing that will kind of happen through rebalances, most likely. It's unlikely we're going to go look through all 120-ish champions and ensure that they all have a whole or like enough feats. What's more likely and what we have been doing is as we do the rebalances for the seasons, we've been looking at the feat selections for those champions. And so we'll likely continue to do that kind of thing. There are some one-offs where we can look at some champions. Like, for example, we've added some tanking feats to some champions that were missing some and overwhelm feats and stuff like that. But in general, we likely won't be looking at individual champions unless they come up as part of a rebalance or a promotion or something like that. Yeah, and so people are pointing out that there was a spring rebalance last year. Now I remember there was sort of a data-driven rebalance. I think we might have added a couple of new abilities that were completely data-driven, but I don't really consider that a rebalance. It was more of a numbers balance, because the rebalances we've been doing in the seasons have sort of changed up kits and done more than just increased numbers. So any sort of major kit changes will continue to be likely just part of seasons.
There's just only so much time in a day to get that stuff done.
Yeah, the season rebalances have been taking a large portion of design's time, so we will continue to do as much of that as we can, given our time constraints.
Okay, I see in the chat I'm being told it's Random Ramblings of a Madman, so Ram, close enough. All right, we'll go with that. Next question here. This one is from Canelian. Will the second new feat slot require leveling above the soft cap again?
I believe so. I think it's between E to the 90 to E to the 95 gold required for that one, depending on the slot. So I think it will. So yeah, and the next question here, I was going to link these together. The next question is from Irie in UK, asking if the higher level requirement for the final feat means a soft cap increase. Not at this time. We are not doing a soft cap increase at this time. So you will have to hit the old manual level up button there and upgrade them past the soft cap in order to unlock those new feats, or new feat slots, I should say.
Yeah. All right. Next question. It's a curious question. This is from question : and the question is, can we have an option to only have 2 active feats?
I'm not shocked to see this question. Anytime we add a new feature, the very first question I expect to see is, can we have an option to not have this new feature? I can definitely see why you're asking about this. Because obviously you won't be able to swap in new feats without, like, as long as you have an empty feat slot, it will assign an assigned or a new feat to that slot rather than letting you pick one of them out. So this may slightly affect some gem farming or Briv skipping scripts if you're swapping around feats as part of that. I don't know that we would want to change that behavior, because we don't want to make the feat assigning process more complicated for new players. We want it to just be like, click a button and the feat is assigned kind of thing. So I don't know if we would add that.
All right. Next question.
Sorry, just before you get. So, question Colin had a good point as a follow-up here to that if you have a stat feat equipped and you don't have another feat that could replace it, then you might, or like if it was a champion with a low enough number of feats that you didn't have enough feats to get rid of them, then that could potentially be an issue, because you would not be able to get rid of that stat feat. I guess that's not really an issue right now, because champions have enough uncommon feats that you can always just swap in one of those. But I guess there could be some champions who only have like 3 uncommon feats, and you wouldn't be able to find another feat to replace a stat feat. That's probably a very niche issue, because I imagine for most champions they have at least 3 uncommon feats and at least 1 rare feat that is not a stat feat that they could get rid of. So it's probably something we do need to look at, but it's probably not going to be a super high priority, except in very edge cases.
All right,
we can look at it though.
So the solution, I think, is we just need to add more feats and you'll have to unlock those before you can. Probably not the favorite solution. Unassign button probably makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
Okay, next question here. This one is from Alpha Kroll. The question is, with 4 feat slots, will you be giving out more feats?
This is the same question, basically. I think we already addressed this one.
Okay. Cool. Next question then. This is a question from OG17 asking about the Season 2 tokens. This is about how you get to the Tier 11, the repeat rewards. And so the question is, will Season 2 consider the additional tokens needed for pass items as Season 1 did? Season 2 changed to unlock Tier 11 after a set number of rewards doesn't help here. Pass buyers still have significantly less tokens available at Tier 11 unless they ignore and pass on stuff that they pass on stuff that they paid for using the pass. I'm really, I think we get the idea.
Yeah, so I think the idea here is that you get a certain amount of currency for doing the quests, and the concern here is that while we change it in Season 2 so that both free players and pass players can both unlock Tier 11 at the same time, if a pass player purchases all of the stuff from the first 10 tiers, then they have less extra tokens left over to spend on Tier 11. And this is an interesting question, because one of the reasons we changed that was so that pass players could just skip whatever they didn't feel was worthwhile in the pass, and then spend those tokens in Tier 11. So the idea being that we kind of consider the stuff that's in the pass to be a little bit more valuable than the stuff that is in Tier 11. So we would think that, you bought the pass because you want that stuff, and so you get that stuff, and you get a little bit less of the Tier 11 stuff, but the Tier 11 stuff is, in theory, not as good as the earlier tier stuff that you paid for. And if you don't consider the pass stuff to be more valuable than the stuff in Tier 11, then you can buy a whole bunch of the Tier 11 stuff. So I don't know. This is maybe something that we should think about. It's a really kind of weird thing. Is the answer to this to just make all of the pass only stuff not actually cost any tokens, or not actually cost any currency, so that you get into Tier 11 with exactly the same amount of currency as somebody who doesn't buy any of the pass stuff? It feels a little bit weird. I'm not sure. We'll have to think about this. I think it's a decent thing to discuss and a decent thing to think about, and I can definitely see all the chat going by there as well. So I think the design team will have a chat here and see what we think about this.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to have had a little bit more input on that, but I was just being informed that we are doing a raid at the end of the show, which we'll have details for as we wrap up. So let's not forget about that. Next question here is from Peter DePan. With all the new feat slots and cap raises, is your intention to make the game easier for new players? Or what is your intention doing stuff like that in any way? I think the question is, so that last bit of the question, I think, is saying, do you have any intention to make the game easier for new players?
I interpret it as what is your intention for adding new feat slots and cap raises and stuff?
Well, let's answer both, because
yeah. So I think the intention of adding the new feat slots is to give players a way to use all the feats they have. While there are some champions that only have 4 or 5 feats, there are also a bunch of champions that have 10 or 12 feats. And the fact that you can only use 2 of them at a time makes it so that there's not really an incentive to really collect more than 2 or 3 feats, because once you kind of got the ones that you want to keep there, you don't really have a reason to want to collect those other ones. And one of the major drivers of the game is collection, and so we want people to feel like they're going to you're going to be able to do something with all those feats you collect. So yeah, there is that's kind of the intention for increasing feats. We were looking at some sort of bigger changes to the feat system, and we will likely continue to look at bigger, more impactful changes to the feat system. But this was kind of we think, a good way to just quickly add some customizability and additional kind of collection to the feat system, for lack of a better word. And is our intention to make the game easier for new players? I mean, one of the challenges I think that we have in general with the game is the game's over 5 years old at this point. We're like 5 years and 4 months, and so having ways for new players to kind of catch up to a certain degree, obviously not catch up on all the collection stuff, but catch up in power to a degree, is something that is important just for the life of the game. Like, we need new players to get into the game, and when we're releasing content, we need that content to be accessible to as many players as possible, so that we can so that, you know, we're not wasting our time making something for just a very, very, very small subset of our players. So I think getting new players to a higher power level faster is always going to be something that is in our best interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that if you're a newer player and we release something exciting and new, that you can participate in it, and you're not just sort of on the sidelines and not able to try it out until later. Especially sort of the critical mass of players, talking about it on social media, on Discord, on Reddit, are all like, "Oh, you tried the new feature?" And it's like, "I can't even get there yet." So it's certainly really worthwhile to make sure that new players can get access to new content.
I think that's why Seasons has been such a big push for us, and why sort of in Season 2 we made sure to add some time gate pieces to the earlier tiers, so that newer players could get all the season champions unlocked a lot simpler than kind of in the first season. And we'll continue to kind of optimize those systems as well.
Yeah, it is something I think we could probably take a little bit of time and think about, just to optimize that in, because as you say, the game is 5 years old, and that really for us just means there's a shit ton of content. We're allowed to say that, right?
Yeah, you get one swear per stream.
Well, we've only got 3 minutes left, so I think we have to use it. You use it or lose it. It's the way it works. All right.
Yeah. Do we want to do one more question, or are we looking at?
I think we've got about, let's close out.
Okay.
We're going to do our usual outro, but have been informed, because no one told us this beforehand, but the channel is going to be rating Cypher of Tyr, which is Tanya DePass's channel. They're streaming on their channel, and we will be doing that right after we finish our outro. So I guess Mars got that ready to go, so we're going to finish up, and then we're going to go do that. So without further trying to describe something I don't understand.
So if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be back at the same time next week, I'm pretty sure. Before we sign off, though, we would like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was actually Sean and Mars. So they're the two who were copying your questions into our questions doc and helping to make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. That's it. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Happy raiding. What's a raid?
I'm not entirely sure.